Most people can name the biggest industries in the world without thinking twice. Oil, technology, pharmaceuticals, real estate. These are the industries that dominate headlines, attract the most investors, and produce the most recognizable billionaires on the planet. But here's what nobody tells you. Some of the most profitable, fastest growing, and most deeply embedded industries in the global economy never make those lists. They don't have celebrity CEOs. They don't sponsor the Super Bowl. They don't trend on social media. And yet, right now, today, they are generating billions of dollars every single year, quietly, consistently, and almost entirely out of public view. Welcome to K Mazora, the channel that exists to show you how money and power actually work. Not the sanitized version, not the version designed to make you feel comfortable, the real version. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which billion-dollar industries are hiding in plain sight, why they stay invisible on purpose, and what that invisibility tells you about how the global economy actually operates. Let's get into it. Number 1, the bail bond industry. Every year, millions of people are arrested in the United States, and every year, a quiet, largely unregulated industry generates over $2 billion in revenue by sitting directly between those people and their freedom. The bail bond industry works like this. When someone is arrested and a judge sets bail at, say, $50,000, most people cannot afford to pay that amount outright. So they go to a bail bondsman who pays the full amount to the court in exchange for a non-refundable fee, typically 10% of the total bail. The person pays $5,000, gets out of jail, and if they show up to court, the bondsman gets their $50,000 back. If they don't show up, the bondsman loses it and sends a bounty hunter to bring them back. Think of it like a toll booth placed between a citizen and their constitutional right to await trial outside of a cell. You pay the toll whether you're guilty or not, and the industry collects that toll approximately 2 million times per year. The United States is one of only 2 countries in the world where commercial bail bonding is legal. The other is the Philippines. Every other developed nation considers this system a form of institutionalized extortion. And yet, here it is, generating billions, decade after decade, with almost zero mainstream coverage. Number 2, the self-storage industry. Here is a number that will genuinely stop you in your tracks. The United States alone has over 50,000 self-storage facilities, more than the total number of McDonald's, Starbucks, and Subway locations combined. The global self-storage industry generates over $48 billion per year, and it has been one of the most consistently profitable real estate sectors for the last 4 decades, surviving recessions, financial crises, and even a global pandemic without losing momentum. Why? Because the self-storage business model is almost perfectly engineered for resilience. Think of it like a hotel for objects, except the objects never check out, the guests never complain, and the overhead is almost nothing compared to any other property type. No beds to make, no food to serve, no staff required on most floors. And the triggers that drive demand are not just prosperity, they are life events. Divorce, death, moving, downsizing, upsizing. Every major transition in a human life tends to produce boxes of things that people cannot yet decide to keep or throw away. And as long as human beings struggle to let go of their possessions, the self-storage industry will keep printing money. Number 3, the private prison industry. In 2023, private prison companies in the United States generated over $4 billion in combined revenue. These are publicly traded corporations, some listed on the New York Stock Exchange, whose core business model is incarcerating human beings on behalf of governments that pay them a per diem rate for every occupied bed. The 2 dominant players, CoreCivic and GEO Group, between them operate over 200 facilities and house more than 150,000 people at any given moment. The mechanics of this industry are unlike almost any other. The revenue is guaranteed by government contracts. The demand is partially influenced by lobbying efforts directed at criminal justice policy. And the product, a filled prison bed, costs the government more per year than a year of tuition at many public universities. Most people assume prisons are government institutions. Most people are wrong about roughly 8 to 10% of them. And that 8 to 10% generates billions in shareholder returns every single quarter, with almost no public scrutiny. Number 4, the academic publishing industry. This one might be the most audacious business model on this entire list. Here's how it works. A scientist at a university funded by government grants, meaning taxpayer money, conducts research. They write a paper about that research. They submit it to an academic journal. The journal sends it to other scientists to peer review. Those scientists are not paid for their review. The journal then publishes the paper and then charges universities, again, funded by taxpayer money, tens of thousands of dollars per year for subscriptions to access the research that taxpayers already funded. The author gets paid nothing. The reviewers get paid nothing. The universities pay enormous subscription fees. And the journal publishers, companies like Elsevier, Springer Nature, and Wiley, collect margins that routinely exceed 30 to 40%. For context, that is higher than Apple's profit margin. The global academic publishing industry is worth over $25 billion per year. It is almost entirely invisible to the general public, and it operates on a business model so circular and self-reinforcing that even the scientists who despise it continue to participate because the journals control access to professional credibility. It is, by almost any measure, one of the most perfectly constructed rent extraction machines in the history of commerce. Number 5, the funeral industry. Death is the only guaranteed market, and the funeral industry has known this for over a century. In the United States alone, the death care industry, which includes funeral homes, cremation services, cemetery plots, and memorial products, generates over $20 billion per year. Globally, the figure exceeds $100 billion, and it operates on a pricing model that is almost uniquely predatory, for one simple reason: its customers are always grieving. When a family loses someone, they are not in a position to comparison shop. They are not researching competitors online. They are sitting across from a funeral director who is presenting packages that bundle together services they may not need at prices they are in no condition to question. The average American funeral costs between $7,000 and $12,000. The average cremation, which costs a funeral home a few $100s to perform, is sold to families for $2,000 to $5,000. Number 6, the lobbying industry. Most people understand, in a vague way, that corporations spend money to influence politicians. What most people don't understand is the scale, the sophistication, and the return on investment of that spending. In the United States, the registered lobbying industry alone spends over $4 billion per year, and that $4 billion is just the tip. It covers only activities that legally require disclosure. Add in the broader ecosystem of think tanks, political action committees, trade associations, and strategic consulting firms, and the real number is multiples higher. The author gets paid nothing. The reviewers get paid nothing. The universities pay enormous subscription fees. And the journal publishers, companies like Elsevier, Springer Nature, and Wiley, collect margins that routinely exceed 30 to 40%. For context, that is higher than Apple's profit margin. The global academic publishing industry is worth over $25 billion per year. It is almost entirely invisible to the general public. Number 7, the private intelligence industry. You've heard of the CIA? You've heard of MI6. What you probably haven't heard of is the rapidly growing ecosystem of private intelligence firms that now operate alongside, and sometimes in direct competition with, government agencies. Companies like Black Cube, Kroll, and Stratfor offer corporate clients something that was once exclusively available to nation-states: professional intelligence gathering, surveillance operations, and geopolitical analysis. Their clients include Fortune 500 corporations, hedge funds, law firms, and ultra-high net worth individuals. Their services range from background investigation and competitive intelligence to full-scale covert operations designed to gather information on rivals, regulators, journalists, or activists. The global private intelligence industry is estimated at over $7 billion per year and growing at double digits annually. It operates almost entirely without regulation. There is no licensing body, no international treaty, no consumer protection framework. And because its clients sign NDAs and its operations are designed to leave no trace, the public almost never sees evidence of its existence until something goes catastrophically wrong. Number 8, the bottled water industry. Here is something worth sitting with. Water falls from the sky. It flows through rivers. In most developed countries, it comes out of a tap that has already been treated, tested, and regulated to meet strict safety standards. And yet, the global bottled water industry generates over $300 billion per year and is expected to exceed $500 billion by the end of this decade. Some of the most expensive bottled water brands sell products that independent laboratory tests have shown are chemically indistinguishable from municipal tap water. The bottles themselves cost more to produce than the liquid inside them, and the environmental cost, plastic waste, carbon emissions from transport, aquifer depletion is staggering. So how does an industry that sells something freely available for a fraction of a cent per liter generate hundreds of billions of dollars? The same way every industry on this list does. It found a human anxiety and monetized it. The anxiety in this case is trust, or rather, the erosion of trust in public infrastructure. The moment people stopped trusting the tap, the bottled water industry had a market that can never be fully saturated, because the anxiety that drives it is never fully resolved. Now, I know what you might be thinking at this point. Some of these industries feel uncomfortable to think about, and that discomfort is exactly the point, because the industries that generate the most friction, the most moral complexity, the most institutional opacity, are precisely the industries that attract the least public scrutiny. And the least scrutiny means the fewest regulations. And the fewest regulations means the highest margins. This is not a coincidence. It is a pattern. Broker industry? Data brokers sit in the middle of an invisible economy. They acquire data from apps you use, purchases you make, public records, social media platforms, loyalty programs, and thousands of other sources. They clean it, categorize it, package it, and sell it to advertisers, insurers, employers, financial institutions, political campaigns, law enforcement agencies, and anyone else willing to pay. You are not their customer. You are their product. And unlike the social media platforms you've heard about, data brokers have no consumer-facing product that draws public attention. They have no app you downloaded, no terms you agreed to. They simply operate quietly, continuously, and extremely profitably in the background of your digital life. Number 10, the pest control industry. This one may seem small compared to the others on this list, but stay with me. The global pest control industry is worth over $25 billion per year. It is growing at approximately 5% annually. It is recession-proof, pandemic-proof, and climate change accelerated, because as temperatures rise, insect populations expand into new geographies, creating new markets. It is fragmented enough that no single company dominates, which means margins stay high across thousands of independent operators. And it is driven by a trigger so primal, fear of infestation, that price sensitivity among customers is remarkably low. When you have cockroaches in your kitchen, you are not negotiating on price. The pest control industry is also a masterclass in what economists call recurring revenue. A single treatment might eliminate today's problem, but the conditions that created the problem, the structure of the building, the surrounding environment, the behavior of the occupants, rarely change, which is why pest control companies sell contracts, not visits, monthly or quarterly service agreements that generate predictable, automatic revenue regardless of whether there is actually anything to treat. It is a business model so fundamentally sound that Berkshire Hathaway has owned the industry's largest player, Rollins, Inc., for decades. Warren Buffett owns the world's largest pest control company. Almost nobody knows this. Here's the thing about every industry on this list. None of them are secret. The data exists. The revenue figures are public. The companies are registered, regulated to varying degrees, and in many cases, publicly traded. What makes them invisible is not that they're hidden. It's that they're boring. They don't produce a product that inspires passion or identity. Nobody wears a t-shirt with a data broker's logo. Nobody posts about their self-storage unit on Instagram. And so the media ignores them, the public ignores them, and the money flows completely undisturbed. The single most important lesson from this video is not about any specific industry. It is about where attention goes and where it doesn't. The industries that dominate public consciousness, tech, entertainment, sports, are designed to attract attention. That attention brings scrutiny, regulation, and competition. But the industries that operate without attention, they accumulate quietly, raise prices gradually, expand without resistance, and generate generational wealth for the small number of people who understand what is actually happening. Now you are one of those people. In the next video, I'm going to show you something even more counterintuitive, the business models that should not work by any rational economic logic, but that generate billions of dollars precisely because they don't follow the rules. You are not going to want to miss that one. If this video gave you something worth thinking about, subscribe. It is completely free, and it is how you make sure this kind of content keeps finding you. The world makes a lot more sense when you know where to look. I'm Kay Mazora. See you in the next one.